Thank you. I want to start the opening statements with Mr. Schwartz, please.
Hello. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jonathan Schwartz. I've been in this community for 20 years or so. I teach at Colfax High School. I've been at Colfax High for 18 years. I'm actually not a candidate that's running. I came onto the board 6 months ago, and I think I'm running unopposed in this election. So I'm actually not a candidate. But my interests on the board are my kids have been in the school district for the last 7 years, and then my youngest one will be in here for the next 8 years. So I'll be in this district as a parent for 15, and my primary goal, I mean, it's a fantastic district, fantastic schools with wonderful teachers and support, and I just kind of want to continue that long tradition. That was it.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Bigger audience than I expected with our sports happening tonight. Anyway, my name is Jeff Dewar, and I've been a teacher for 17 years in Western Placer Unified School District at Glen Edwards Middle School first, and then Lincoln High School currently. I teach world history, AP world history, and comparative politics. My motivation for being here is I was looking at getting involved in some kind of community service. I have served as a negotiator for the Western Placer Teachers Association for 6 years, and so I know how to read contracts. I've helped write contracts, and I thought this is a good way I could just kind of be involved and lend a hand to help out in the community, and don't have any kind of agenda, just want to be here to help out and help the district through a difficult time, which I cannot think of a more difficult time than right now to run as a school board member. So it is a little bit of pressure on all of us here.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out, as Jeff said already. My name is Laurel Klein. I actually just moved into the district 2 years ago. I don't have children yet, but me and my husband are planning to soon. So my plan is to get involved as early as I can. So not only can I help all of you and your children, but I can also, start building, the school up. So when my kids enter the district, it'll be, well defined. I am a chemical engineer for Procter & Gamble down in Sacramento. Every day I deal with troubleshooting, problem solving, working with tons of different individuals to come up with optimal solutions. And I really think that applying those skills, especially in this difficult time, to our school districts will actually really help us out. So as Jeff said too, I really just want to get involved in the community, and I feel like this is a great opportunity to do it. I know that there were spaces available on the school board, and I was like, I'm qualified for this, I could do this. I really like to learn and really delve into issues, and I really hope for your vote on November 6th.
Thank you. I have a number of questions here, and they're all very good. We'll start with you, Mr. Schwartz. What is your vision for education in this community?
Well, I think, as Jeff said, the primary issue right now is declining enrollment throughout the whole district, and we really need to work hard and formulate a pretty solid plan for the future with declining enrollment. So resources are going to have to be allocated, I think, more sparingly in the future. And I like to stay as strong of a district as we've been in the past, and hopefully, in November election, things won't get too dire, but I guess there's a high possibility, or I guess there's a possibility that if some of the propositions don't pass, times in this district, as in all California districts, will be very dire. So I think some tough decisions might have to get made. So I'd really like to continue the tradition that we've had in this district. And I think the issues of declining enrollment and decreasing budgets is really the primary concern.
Thank you. Mr. Dewar.
A horrible yet appropriate answer is damage control. we are in a tough, difficult situation in California, and my wife and I have been very happy with the education of both my daughters through Sierra Hills and now at Weimar, and my wife also went through the school system here as a kid. Keeping as many programs that we can with a quality program for complete, well-rounded education, that is the goal. We have some issues involving program improvement from the last board meeting that we learned about, and so that is going to be a challenge as well, how we're going to tackle that. And I'm kind of straying from the question a little bit here, but we also have so many other issues, a new superintendent that we're going to have to be searching for, implementing core standards, national standards, the budget.
I could say all of the above. I think, as mentioned, we really need to look at retaining the students that we do have in order to keep our enrollment numbers where they're at, but we also need to look at attracting new students. And as much as I'd like to agree with damage control, I think we want to hold steady, but we also need to look at our programs and really think, how can we expand with the limited resources that we have? How can we combine things together to make them more efficient? I'm a really big supporter of art classes, but are there ways that we can incorporate, speech into that, where there are presentations on, what the artist was thinking? How do we incorporate public speaking into that? But ideas like that, and then also, focusing on our results in terms of the STAR test that we just got back, and not really the good results in language arts or math. So coming up with ways to combine programs and with the resources that we have.
Thank you. Mr. Dewar, you mentioned the superintendent, and we do have a question related to that as well. And I will start this question with you. How do you expect the board will be involved in the process of replacing the current superintendent or principal position for next year? And what talents or ideas do you bring to the table in that process?
Well, the current board has already started the process. At the last board meeting, they're looking at how they want to move forward, what kind of search they want to conduct for a superintendent. I was at the board meeting when Fred announced his retirement, and I was pretty deflated. Had some little comment for him at the end, and that makes things especially even more difficult right now in this district. I have been on hiring committees to hire principal in the past, who is now in my district that I teach in, who is now the superintendent of instruction, curriculum and instruction. She's doing a great job. Mary Boyle is her name. So I've got experience in looking at leadership skills and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to being part of that.
Thank you. And to Ms. Klein, please.
I'm as well, and on the board, yes, definitely we'll be looking at lots of applicants. What I would really like to emphasize, though, is a good leader, someone who not only can envision what they would like the school district to look like, but who also is really good at bringing folks in from the community, from the teachers, parents, getting students involved, really engaging everyone to work towards and execute the plan to get us where we need to go. So not only someone who can envision the future, but also someone who can engage everyone. Something else too is I've been really active in recruiting folks to work for our plant, and just looking at resumes, you think you have a great candidate, but it's not really until you bring them in and you actually start asking them some tough questions that you really know whether they're qualified for that or not. So making sure that we bring folks in and really ask them what their experience is and how well they collaborate with other people.
Thank you. We're going to the next question, and we're going to start this question with Ms. Klein. Oh, did you not answer? I apologize. You got to keep me on schedule. Thank you. The next question is, What do you see as the current challenges facing education? And together with that, I'm going to include what do you see as the two most urgent issues facing this district?
Okay. Facing education, I think bringing out the Common Core standards is definitely something we're going to really need to start focusing on. Figuring out how to incorporate those into our school district, as well as how to keep the uniqueness of our programs but still meet those requirements. The other thing would be the declining enrollment issue. How do we manage keeping the students we have, keeping the funding that we have, but still giving the quality of education that we'd like? Those are the two big issues I would think. Common Core is a big one. Oh, also being held to certain standards right now with STAR testing, being put on program improvement. Definitely having to meet those basic standards by the state to get the funding that we need.
Yeah, I think the biggest issues are just continuing supporting the staff. They're doing a wonderful job right now transitioning to the Common Core. All of their resources, all of their in-service time is already spent transitioning to Common Core standards. I think probably at the high school, at Colfax High, we could probably do a better job articulating. We're a little bit behind this district in transitioning to the Common Core. So I think that's going really well, and I think Fred is truly unreplaceable, and I think that's a gigantic concern that we hire somebody and that we have Fred's expertise in that hiring process. So it would be nice to start looking as soon as possible for that replacement.
Thank you. And Mr. Dewar.
I'm actually not concerned about the Common Core. Having at the back to school night, seeing what Weimar has already achieved in the Common Core, working towards Common Core, I think you got a good handle on the direction, a head start, definitely ahead of where we're at in my district. And so that's not a big concern. I would say something that is commonly overlooked, that is just an absolute black hole for the budget, is busing. And last year, if you'll recall, busing was a huge issue coming into this school year. I foresee that as another big issue. Every time the bus leaves the yard, we're losing money. The state of California does not completely fund busing, and so that is going to be another big issue we're going to have to tackle.
Thank you. Ms. Klein? Oh, you started this one, did you? Thank you. Keep me on track. We'll go to the next question. Speaking of budgets and buses, and we'll start this one with you, Jonathan. With continuing budget cuts, how do you plan to keep our education at a high standard?
I think a couple board meetings ago, Steve Schamoffel really pointed out that it's really hard to make predictions until we have a number. So I think the primary thing to do is see what happens in November, kind of see where the numbers are, and then work with sites to figure how things are going to play out from there.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
With continuing budget cuts, how do you plan to keep education at a high standard?
Teachers, I hate to tell you this, you guys know better than anyone else. You haven't had a pay raise in quite some time. You are paying for an enormous amount of your own health insurance, and you deliver a quality education. And that's almost completely separate from the budget. In fact, it is. It's a separate issue. The dedication of the teachers in this district is amazing. I think being a small district like this and having the tight-knit community like this allows the teachers to work so much more closely together and do such a great job. I expect that to continue going forward. The budget's the budget, but the teachers are what make the education. So.
Ms. Klein.
I really want to look at results, right? If we have great programs, I want to keep those programs. But if we have programs that cost a lot of money and that aren't actually delivering, where we want them to be delivering at, we need to look at coming up with a new program to meet that need. If our issue is reading, let's come up with low-cost solutions to improve reading in our classrooms. If it's math, let's come up with solutions to incorporate technology to get kids really excited about math, and instead of maybe more expensive programs. So really setting clear deliverables and actionable limits, and then really evaluating where we're at with that, and then deciding, hey, is this working or do we need another solution?
Thank you. Jonathan? Started this one. I've got the check marks, I'm not looking at them. But Jeff, since we'll start this question with you, and you brought up a good point about teachers. This question is, Placer Hills teachers haven't had a raise in 6 years. Do you see this as a priority?
I don't know if Fred remembers this, but the very first time I met him was standing right out here. And I was a negotiator for my district at the time, and I walked up and said, hey, teachers really need a raise, and doing a little politicking, and I still think the teachers need a good raise. I don't know how that's going to happen. I just don't. Right now, I mean, just getting some more of your health benefits paid for would probably feel like a little bit of relief. We've got so many budget problems happening in California. I'm sure the expectations are right now. I don't see any teachers out there in any districts around the state of California saying, hey, we're demanding a raise, we deserve a raise. Now, everyone's pretty realistic in saying the unemployment numbers are down nationwide. California, the unemployment numbers, as you guys probably saw in the news this last week, were skewed and then wrong. And so, right now we have to kind of just buckle down and do the best we can. Not a popular answer.
Ms. Klein.
I'm going to have to agree with Jeff on that one. Definitely it's necessary, or not necessary, but it's a needed thing to really encourage our teachers to keep delivering their best back to our school districts. But with the current budget issues that we're seeing, whether propositions, they get passed or not this November, it's really going to be an unlikely event. But coming up with other ways maybe to incentivize our teachers to keep giving their best to our schools, any perks that we can give them, that might be something we should look into, just to be able to retain the excellent teachers that we have in this district.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I don't have anything else to add.
All right. Actually, we'll start the next question with you, Ms. Klein, especially since you brought up propositions, which are very important on the ballot this election. There are several propositions which affect school funding. The question is, do you have an opinion of the current propositions that could affect local schools? Propositions 30, 32, and 38.
I do. I've been reading up on all, mostly 30 and 38. My feeling with 30, if just reading it kind of, it seems like the governor increased the budget given to schools this year, and now is threatening that if we don't pass 30, he's just going to take that additional $6 billion back. So even if 30 doesn't necessarily get passed, we're just going to be in the same situation we were in the previous year. I don't think that the requirements on where the money is going to go and the guarantees of where it's going to go on 30 are there. And so I'm right now kind of opposed to 30. I'm going to look more into it, kind of actually read the law itself, see if that actually is what it's saying. But 30 is not one that I really support, just because I don't like the way that it's guaranteeing or not guaranteeing funding to schools. 38 is an interesting one. I don't necessarily enjoy raising taxes, but it may be necessary if funding really needs to go to our schools. And so that's something that I need to evaluate personally. And then for 32, I have to admit I haven't read into it too much yet.
Mr. Schwartz, do you have?
Yeah, You want to hold up that 30 sign? 100% yes on 30. Yeah, hold on. 30 has to pass. If 30 passes, that'll kind of keep us where we are. And if 30 doesn't pass, it'll very drastically affect all of our schools. So 100% positive yes on 30, and then no on 32, and no on 38. So.
Thank you. Mr. Dewar?
I'm an enigma. I'm a supporter of the Teachers Association, but I'm also a conservative. I'm a no on 30, no on 32, and no on 38, and I'll explain. No one has convinced me that the state of California can run a budget properly. No one has convinced me at the state of California that they will keep their word. What happened to Prop 98? And until they can keep their word, and until they can go ahead and manage the state properly without wasting our money, I'm a no. But they have to convince me. On Prop 32, that's the political donation, or excuse me, not donations, help me out here, the contributions, thank you, taken out of your paycheck. I already do that. I opt out. I do not contribute to the political side of the CTA. I already have that option. On 38, again, taxes, we've got to make California more business friendly. If we drive more businesses out of California, it drops our tax base, and it is self-defeating. That is not, again, that is not popular here, but there's one thing you will know, what I say, what you see is what you get with me. This is just who I am, so I'll be honest.
Thank you. Our next question, and that question will start with Jonathan. Thank you. What has been your experience with the district, and have you had experience with other public school districts?
Yeah, so my oldest son started here 7 years ago. I've been in this district for 7, and then I'll be in here for another 8 years. I teach at Colfax High. I've taught at Colfax High for 18 years, and then prior to that I taught back east a little bit. And this is really all I know for successful education. I actually grew up in the Richmond School District in the Bay Area, so I've actually never seen successful education until I got up here. So.
Thank you.
Really? As I said before, I'm a teacher in Western Placer, and been teaching for 17 years. Again, very politically active on the negotiating team. I worked with 2 superintendents, previous superintendent that got us into a big hole in our district, and a current superintendent who I consider to be one of the most, one of the greatest men I've ever known. I actually really enjoy working for this gentleman, Scott Lehman. He has incredible integrity. And I don't know what to tell you. I enjoy teaching. People have tried to push me into the administrative side. Administrators are crazy. You guys put fires out all day, where I get to go in my 4 walls in my classroom and enjoy teaching these great kids. So teaching profession's great. The schools here, my wife and I have been very happy with both schools here.
Ms. Klein?
So as I mentioned earlier, I did just move into the district 2 years ago, and I admit also that I've been spying on the board meetings over those 2 years. They post the meeting minutes, so I've been keeping up on those. In terms of other districts, my mom actually, when I was growing up, I ended up going to elementary schools in 3 different districts, all in the same general area, but she didn't like one district, just because they ended up putting me in a combination class because, again, reduced enrollment. She transferred me out of there. I moved to another district. That wasn't that great. It was good for 2 years, and then, the upper levels weren't good. And then finally, the district I ended up in actually was fantastic. So as a kid, I got the experience of going through different districts and seeing kind of what programs worked for me and what programs, worked for other students. And, since being involved or getting interested in the school board, I've kind of been reflecting back on that and actually contacting some of the teachers that I had in those different districts and asking them questions about, hey, did that reading program actually work for kids, or was that just my perception? So I'd really like to take that knowledge and bring it back to our district and reapply.
Thank you. We'll start the next question with Mr. Dewar. The next question is, what motivates you to want to be a board member?
I've kind of already answered it. I don't have an axe to grind. I don't have anything except for just volunteering my time. Now, I will say, I just caught a glance with someone in the audience, and that person has a handprint right on my back, right here. I got a phone call last year, and this individual said, hey, I heard you asked some great questions at the board meeting. Maybe you should run for the school board. And it took me a while to consider it, and now here I am. So there's a little handprint on my back just kind of pushing me forward. So but other than that, just community service and just, again, I know how to read budgets. I've been to budget training meetings and things like that. School budgets are very difficult to read, and I kind of have a little head start in that area and know a little bit about school finance.
Thank you. And Ms. Klein?
I just want to be involved with the community, and I think this is a great opportunity to do it. I'm a chemical engineer. I really like problem solving. I like crunching the data. I'm really eager and highly motivated to learn how all of this works and to really delve into it and figure out how we can, get through this really hard time right now for our schools.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yeah, I just kind of see it as a nice place to serve my community.
Thank you. I want to move on to a slightly more specific question, and we'll start this question with Ms. Klein. Preparing students for America's jobs of the future is a national priority. What would you do in this district to increase and improve student access to computers and other classroom technology?
It's actually a good question. I didn't think it was going to go there in the beginning of the question. Just giving kids access to technology is not really the answer. You actually have to have someone show them certain things, and then at a certain point, once they've reached a certain level, then they can go off and learn things on their own. I really think getting kids access in the classroom, incorporating technology into the classroom, into lessons, that sort of thing, really inspires kids, and subtly it teaches them about technology. Trying to think of some other. I would say also using technology to teach is another big one. Making competitions. For example, I know most people probably are opposed to video games, but if you actually see some of the educational video games out there for math, I'm enjoying them. I get excited about them. I play with my nieces all the time, and they get excited too. So using that technology to teach kids, I think that's a good way to bring it in and also subtly teach them to use it.
Mr. Schwartz?
I think this district's done a phenomenal job bringing in technology and really staying up to date on training in heavy math and literacy skills with longer blocks in math and literacy. Shay Wing does a great job supporting the district in technology. That's kind of relatively new, and I think that's a big step forward to have, the servers and have a network person kind of oversee all of it. I think, I don't know if this district could do much more. I think at the high school district, we could do more to kind of reach out more, to do more programs in science, technology, engineering, and math.
Thank you.
My daughters come home and they say, Dad, you got to check out this new video on Mr. Odie's website, and it's just amazing what he does with technology and various webcasts and things like that. I don't think the technology is the issue. I think that's kind of taken on its own momentum. I think it really is in the area of science and math. I think the United States has to, not just community-wise, but from the global perspective, the national perspective, we do have to take a little more of an active role in increasing our science and math exposure to students so that we're not importing jobs from overseas. And so we can fill our own jobs that go unfilled because we don't have the criteria for some of these students to go out of college and get those jobs. So we need to fill those in-house.
Thank you. We'll start the next question with Mr. Schwartz. I think, well, you probably all already answered this question. How many Placer Hills School District board meetings have you attended in the past 6 months?
I think 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm 2 for 2 the last 2 months. Let's see, prior to summer, towards the end of the year, I think I attended one as well. And either three maybe, I think.
I will admit I have not gone to a Placer Hills board meeting. We actually have a dinner party that reoccurs every month at our house on Thursdays, well, or at other houses, and so I've actually been going to that instead of the board meetings. But you know, if I were to get on the board, obviously that would get moved aside for the board meetings.
Thank you. I lost a question there for a minute. We'll start the next question with you, Mr. Dewar. What do you see as your role as a board member?
Let me start by saying what I think a community would not want to see as a board member. Number one, you do not want to see a board that rubber stamps on one bookend. And on the other end, you do not want to see a runaway board that's an activist board that has some kind of agenda to push. So we got the 2 bookends taken care of. We need someone in the middle who is conscientious, will actually read the board packet, think about the quality education within the district, how to support the teachers and the staff, maintenance, busing, and make decisions just using some common sense and good thinking. But like I said, you do not want a rubber stamp board and you do not want an overt activist board. Those are both trouble.
Thank you. Ms. Klein?
I agree. I think we want someone who engages with the community, really considers the community versus their own personal agenda in the board meetings, who does do the necessary research into the issues. You know, it's one thing to read through your packet, it's another thing to then take that and go figure out what other school districts are doing. I really think it needs to be someone who has the time and the energy to do that, and to really look at the big picture and see how our district can utilize other ideas out there and not necessarily have to constantly be reinventing the wheel.
Thank you. Mr. Schwartz, do you have a comment?
Before I got on the board 6 months ago, I asked Steve Somloffel about it, and Steve really gave me some great insight into it. He says, you know, to be on the board is pretty easy. To do a good job is really an amazing commitment of time. So I think it's just important to really look into all of the issues completely.
Thank you. I think we've covered the questions that I have at hand. Were there other questions that you've written during this discussion that you'd like to move to the side so we can collect them? No more questions? Great. We'll just move to closing. And we'll start with you, Mr. Schwartz.
Yeah, I'm not a candidate, so don't vote for me. Yeah, it's my pleasure and privilege to serve on the school board, and I'm very proud to do it.
You know, I'm just make this quick. I'm not going to be too nonchalant about this, but if you think I'll do a good job, then vote for me. If you don't, don't. I'm just, you know, I'm here to see if I can help out and get us through these difficult times.
I actually prepared a little spiel for the beginning speech, but I ended up not giving it. But I'd really just like to say that I think our schools are really good, and I think, though, that they have the capacity to be a lot better, and I would really like to be a part of our community and start helping to, build them up and to improve them, as well as to keep the programs that we have and to keep the level of education that we have, or at least maintain or improve. I think I have a lot of energy around this. I certainly have time to devote to it, and I would really appreciate your vote if you think that I'm qualified to serve on your board.
Thank you. Well, you've heard from all the candidates. I want to thank the candidates very much for being here. I want to thank the sponsor, the Teachers Association, all the volunteers that set up all this equipment and have the school open here, the Sierra Hills School for providing the facility, my colleagues for being here to help me out, and for you, the most important piece, to the audience for being here, because you've shown that you are most interested in your own community, and we encourage that, and we thank you very, very much.